Hello and welcome to today's special PIR live event webinar brought to you by Partners in Research Canada. We are celebrating Computer Science Education Week this week, and today we're going to be learning about how to do some storytelling using Scratch. So if you're joining us live, please be sure to find your way to the Q&A function anytime throughout the webinar. There's a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. You can click that, type in your question, and let us know where the question's coming from, maybe a student name, a city name, a teacher's name, and then we'll be able to say who that question is coming from when we relay it later on in the webinar. For now, I would like to turn it over to our guests. We have Mr. Roque and his grade 5 class. They're joining us from Waterloo, Ontario. Let's see if we can do that hello again. I think it was louder that time. I'm going to turn it right over to you because I know you have a lot to show us. So off we go. Thank you.
First of all, thank you very much for being here with us and joining us from all parts of Canada. We have a very multicultural school here in Cambridge, Ontario, and so we have many places in this world. So it's really nice to be able to talk to other parts of Canada as well. First of all, happy CS week and then happy coding week. I hope that everyone at their schools is trying something new this week so that they can learn how to code. And we are here actually to present to you some of the work that we have done, not just this year, but last year as well. And maybe that'll give you a guide as to where to start or what to do as you move forward in your progress. First thing I want to let you know is that with very quietly though, can you guys say hi with a nice quiet? Now we do have here an incredible class, and so then I'm going to start a PowerPoint presentation, at which time you will get to see them talking. But first, you get to hear me a little bit as to how we did this and how we arrived to this process. So let me get to the PowerPoint to show to you. And it's share. Don't mind the bells and some of the noise. We are in transition with our bell recess, so we're trying to get there. Share. Oh, I remember. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, I can see what you see. So you just need to go into present mode when you're ready.
Perfect. Oh, not share. Wrong one. Present. Excellent. Welcome to Mr. Roque's class. I am Mr. Roque, also known as binary code 011001101010010010001. That's a lot of numbers, but that's actually since 1993 when I first got my first computer. Every time I type the name Carlos Roque, that's actually what the computer reads. Now, I'd like to introduce you to the grade 5 class, also known as binary code at the bottom as 0100110110010 and everything forward. Now, every time you type grade 5 in your computer, it doesn't actually read grade 5, it reads a code. And so this whole presentation is about learning about a little bit about that code and how to use it in your classroom. So whenever, if you want to know how to do this, if you want to find your name in binary code, just Google your name, like Carlos Roque in binary code, and it'll give you a translation of it. So welcome to our presentation. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what coding has meant to our school community, and these are two of my favorite pictures. Coding in our school community has meant that kids have learned to work together. This is them, actually the picture to the left is them working during the recess. This is after them telling me that they wanted to have a coding meeting. I didn't know what a coding meeting was, and so this is what it looks like. It meant that they work together, get together, talk together, and work to their programs together. Now to the right-hand side, you see two of the girls working at creating phone apps, and that was our skills competitions here in Waterloo. So that coding, when you learn coding, you not only learn how to code robots, but you can also learn how to code apps in your phones. And so we're gonna talk about that a little bit later. But these are some of the prettiest things that when you start doing it in your classroom, you're gonna realize are natural to the process. Working together, making mistakes, and trying again. This is another two set of pictures as to what led us eventually to do this project. To the left-hand side, we came to recognize that a lot of the coding that's happening in schools is actually not done by girls, it's done by guys. And so one of the goals that I had is to start creating these experiences so that we would have more girls coming into our sessions and coding with us as well too. We haven't done the best of it yet, but hopefully this year it'll be a lot different. And so on the left-hand side, we have one of the top coders in Kitchener-Waterloo helping us out, teaching the girls how to code the apps. Now, on the right-hand side, we have the very first idea that I thought about this is how we want to write a story. Now, the kids in the competition had to grab that story, I am not a number. And if you have not read the story, the kids will tell you that is an excellent story. And so then you want to be able to read the story. So the kids in grade 7 and 8 had to code that story using Scratch. And so this is where the original idea came from. I wasn't sure if it was going to work with kids in grade 5. I saw it work with kids in grade 7, but I wasn't going to sure if it was going to work with them. But like everything else, when you got this technology, sooner or later, you just have to take a chance and try it. At worst, they learn how to code a little bit. At best, you're about to see what they've learned. So let me give you the background to what happened last year. Last year, Mrs. Chirek, a St. John's School grade 2 teacher, and I decided to collaborate on bringing 2 different sets of skills and from 2 different communities. And we wanted to try to create something that will intertwine the ideas of both grades. Mr. Chirek had created a podcast about Halloween stories that were developed by his class. He shared those with multiple teachers in our board, but as a class, we decided to create something for a Christmas present. We wanted to create a scratch code. So the results were very mixed. Some of them were really good. Some of them had a lot of sound, but some of them, they were still working at the beginning parts of coding. And I came to realize that coding has different entry points. It's no different than math. It's no different than art. It's no different than gym. Some people can do it better than others at first, but everybody has an entry point. Some people know how to coding because their parents might have coded, and some people are just like me, starting from 0. And so you have to always remember as a teacher and as a student that one of the most important things about coding is just to take the step forward and make a lot of mistakes. And where do I learn it? Like they learned it at home. And so then we want to remind you that if you want to do your best coding, a lot of it is done at school, but a lot of it is also done at home when you go make those mistakes. Now, my favorite part of this whole process is that every kid has an opportunity to create something. And as we're going to learn from the kids themselves, they will talk to you about their experiences and what it was like to create those projects. Now, for you teachers out there, the time to create this project was about 4 periods with the Chromebooks. The students had really no previous knowledge about coding. Some of them had remember from grade 4 when they joined coding club, but we hadn't actually done a lot of it. Now, also, I have never taken a computer course in my life, but I have been exploring coding for the last few years as a teacher. So don't feel afraid if you don't know anything about it. Just start somewhere. And we'll talk about later, where should you start? Now, I want to start bringing up some of the people that actually matter, which is not me. I want them to tell you about their experience and what was it like. And so we actually gave last year's group these 2 questions, the top one and the second one. And they're going to answer that questions in their own words. First question is, what was it like to code for you at the beginning? And how did you overcome the challenges? Because in coding, there is a lot of challenges. Sometimes you have to do things that are not of your grade level. So you have to learn how to overcome them. And the second question is, where has it led you since we stopped? Because we stopped last December to create stories. No different than anything else that we do in school. So where did it lead these kids after that? And where is it going to lead you, hopefully, in the end? So I'm going to ask a couple of them to come up and tell you their experiences. All right, boys, who wants to come up first? Peter, you can come up first.
All right. My first coding experiences was very, very out of all trouble, doing some basic things like switching backgrounds, moving characters, etc., etc. But ultimately, overcome those challenges from trial and error and experimenting with blocks and other code stuff.
After we were done last year, where did it lead you?
It led me to develop more interest in coding languages, and I ultimately developed the knowledge of a very cool coding language that isn't relative to Scratch, but it is kind of relative at the same time, called Lua. You've probably heard of it in some video games. However, I've come to understand the language very well, and about every day I kind of practice it. So I'm trying to become a master at Lua, and even with my moving on Scratch, I sometimes use it once in a while.
Thank you, Peter. Would you like to come up next, guys? Come on, Logan.
It's Roque. I have to go back to the classroom.
Hello. So, when I first started coding, I found it quite a little bit difficult. But the first time we started coding wasn't actually the Mr. Chirek project. It was when somebody came in and was just basically showing a scratch. But with the Mr. Chediak project, I hit some bugs and some things that I still quite haven't gotten enough time to fix. But as I was doing it, I learned that it could be quite challenging, it could be quite difficult, and that you could really hit a couple of blocks. And I learned that something reacting to something else could cause something quite different than what the block was intended to do. So it can be a challenge, but I would recommend keep going, keep trying, and don't give up. Okay. Since we have done the Mr. Chediak project, I have continued, and it has led to some great things. I have a lot of people who are now looking at some of my things. I've started to do animations, games, art, stories, and I even joined something called the Scratch competition. But I do have a little story to tell, very, very short. And basically what happened was me and my friend, we were going to team up and make a game together. Team up and make a game together, but we couldn't quite figure out how to do it because we kept hitting so many roadblocks and everything. So we were doing this for a long time, and we had to end up deleting the game just because of how long it took and how many bugs we found. So it just goes to show what a bug can really do. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Josh. Coding for me last year was challenging, stressful, and hardworking. When we were told to code the stories, none of us really understood what it was. Just from what we were told, it was harsh. And when we started coding the stories and we started reviewing what others made, it taught me that that coding could really make people happy or make them feel better when they accomplish something. So over the past, I think, year or so, I've been working on games, animations, figuring out how to establish backgrounds, how to make the character move left and right, how to make them glide up and down, jump. It's been really hardworking, and I'm so stressful. Last year there was a scratch competition, and apparently I was sick on that day, so I stayed home, coded a little bit, and after that I kind of learned maybe I could join it next year, so I'm really thinking about doing it. Bye.
Hello. Well, coding for me usually was really easy, I thought at first, but when I actually logged into Scratch, I thought, at my perspective, it was just really, really hard because I didn't know what to do anything at first. But by making mistakes and learning more and trying hard, it actually helps me learn. And from trying to make stories for Mr. Chediak, it was really hard too because first I was at the start, and then after I was stuck on usually just other certain parts, and then after, since I made more mistakes, I looked into it more, and then after I kept on actually getting into it. Okay. Bye.
It's really neat to hear the process, and I hope that you're starting to hear a process about you gotta make a lot of mistakes. And so coding teaches you a great degree of mindset. We often hate failing in math, or we hate failing in gym, but there's something really pretty about coding that nobody here is afraid to make that failure. That quite often a failure means you just gotta ask a question and ask one of the other experts in the classroom, does anyone know how to do this? And so we have many experts here. Some people know how to make walls, some people know how to move people, some people know how to make sounds, some people know how to create backgrounds, some people know how to move things left and right. Because if you know anything about coding, you know that left and right is not as easy as it seems. You can go left this way, you can go left this way, you can go left this way. And so coding allows you then to make an incredible mistakes and learn a lot while you're doing it. So this is a larger picture, a larger process. And what they are talking to you about as well too is what did they do after? A lot of it is I went home and I coded. I participated in this event. I created this game. I did this story. And so then when you start your own process, remember that it's very important that you go try it at home as well. In the same way that you go spend hours sometimes watching a YouTube video, some of these guys spend hours coding. The difference is that with the YouTube, you might learn something, but with the coding, you create something. And so allow yourself an opportunity to go try it if you haven't done so. This was done actually last year at Waterloo University at their competition. They were supposed to show their games, but what ended up happening is that they became the experts in the building. And so when the kids were struggling at times at Waterloo to play their games, they would go around and they would help everybody out. And that's one of the pretty things about coding, that once you're an expert, there's so many people that you can help because it's so new. It's not like coding has been around 300 years or thousands of years like mathematics has. Coding really has only been around for about 60 years as computing, and real coding in itself, the way that you watch it now, perhaps about 30 years or so. So if you go start into this process, remember that it starts little and it gets bigger. Let me continue. I'm going to show you some of the examples of the work that they did last year before we move on to and finish up with what the kids have done this year. This is one of them. Oh, give it a second, guys. There we go. This is one of the stories. When you have Scratch, you're gonna notice two things. The very first one on the side is that you get an area to work in. On this piece right here where my mouse is on, these are the commands. And I want you to think of commands as mathematics or language. They're called algorithms. And the trick to an algorithm is to put a string of commands so that you can tell it what to do. So if you take a look at the bottom, there's a whole bunch of pictures here. They're called sprites. Now each sprite has a set of commands. Let me click on a couple of them so you can see them. Notice that every one of them is got when clicked. So you're going to notice that when I click something, when I click the green arrow, it'll show you what that person wanted to code. Here it goes.
The ghost. One day, a smaller girl named Sophie was walking down her street. She heard a sound. She said, "Who's there?" A voice responded and said, "A ghost." Sophie was now standing in front of a big and dark mansion. The door was open. Sophie walked in. She went up the creepy stairs into the bedroom. She saw the ghost. She was so scared that she turned around, ran down the stairs, at the door, and all the way home to her bedroom.
To be able to do the story, you had to get the person who wrote the story to read it and record it. You had to code it into the story. Any kind of those words, they had to be coded in. The timing of when the bubbles happen had to be coded in. The background had to be coded in. The character itself had to be put in a coordinate. The character itself had to be told where to move. And so these are all the skills that the kids have learned in approximately 2 days. Most of it was not learned because of the quiz that I was teaching. Instead, from last year, I grabbed the coders that are in grade 6 now, and they coach the grade 5s. And that's one of the beauty things about this coding is that after a couple of weeks of being a teacher, you are no longer the expert. They are the experts. And as of right now, many of them have already started to go beyond what I know. And I saw that the kids back there that you met first, I can no longer do what they do. That's where we're at right now. And that's one of the prettiest things about coding if you're afraid as a teacher. They will be smarter than you, they will go faster than you, and they will supersede you eventually. And that is awesome. And at that point, you become the learner. So instead of trying you to learn, let them learn it and let them teach it to you. You'd be surprised what they're going to do.
Just for the teachers out there, Mr. Roque, how does that work? Do you see that working really well? Do you see any challenges with that dynamic of having the students sort of run off and become the experts?
We're talking education about inquiry and about giving kids opportunities so that they can do their own research. And so this is one of the best ones. I cannot tell a kid how to put a background when I know that I can teach them how to use YouTube to learn how to use the background. I try really hard to make sure that the kids use what's in front of them, their devices, their tablets, or their Chromebooks, so that they are able to get that expertise. I know some of that expertise, but it's a whole lot better when they're part of that process of learning and then teaching it to somebody else, because now having an audience allows them to feel there's a reason and a purpose why I'm doing this, because there's an opportunity for me to teach it to somebody else. And so, yeah, I'm finding the last 2 years has been more effective when they inquiry to it. My job then is to just organize it, make sure that I manage it, and then whenever there's a big question, to call the grade 6s to come and save us. Because that's what it comes to. that those experts over there have superseded those grade 9 courses that are being taught in high school. They have that knowledge already. And so for any of us teachers to have that knowledge, it would be ridiculous to think that. And so trust your judgment, trust your professionalism, know that your process starts fresh and at nothing, and you only make baby steps. They will do the bigger steps, and eventually you will learn from them.
Wonderful. Sorry, I got us off on a tangent. I'll let you get back to what you were showing us, some previous projects, I believe.
I gotta show you one of my favorite projects that one of the students actually did with this. And so let me just get to it right here. It confused everybody. It was the first time I had ever seen, sorry, that screen on the top is getting in the way. Ah, here it is. This one right here. It's one of my favorite ones. It tricked us all here. He's really excited. He just saw that we're going to show it. It is one of the coolest things when you create your own games. So one of my favorite things last year is that the kids went home, they created games, and I had to test them out at recess time. That's awesome. Here's this game. Oh, this is, remember, I told this coder that they needed to make it easier for me. That's why the balls are moving a little bit slower, because the first time I tried it out, it was too hard. Now, it will get, there's that part again that I always get wrong. You see, that's where the coder's got to work on it. And this is the beauty thing, is that when you try a game, you can tell the person, this is what you have done wrong. When you have a story, you can ask the person who wrote the story, how do you like it? Ask the user, how do you feel about it? More often than not, they don't like it. They want you to switch it. My kids will talk to you about that in a couple of seconds. Oh, there's the screen thing again. It gets in the way. Awesome. Here we go. Now, there's a couple of reasons as to why we want to code. And so the kids will tell you a little bit about them. This is where my class is going to come talk to you as to why we should code. So who would like to answer the first one?
Wait, first?
Yeah, come on. So the very first question, the very first thought about coding is that code forces you to think about problems. And this gentleman is now going to tell you why that is.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Chris. Code forces you to think about problems, because when you're doing your coding, your teacher isn't always going to be there. Sometimes you may just be alone. You want to create something. So your teacher isn't always going to be there to help you create it. So I think it forces you to think about what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and where you're going to put it.
I'd like to add to that student arrived in Canada about 3 months ago. He knows how to code. He didn't have a Chromebook where he was from. He didn't have internet access at times. And here we are. He's one of our best coders so far this year. So, you know, you can start at any different points for that. It's just taking the very first step. Now, the next point is code gives you a new appreciation of technology. Who would like to talk about that one? Come on, Emily.
Hi, and good afternoon. I want to tell you how code gives you new operations for technology. It's because basically when you learn something new, you can't really figure out at first time. You have to take lots of times. And sometimes when you don't really log in properly, you start to lose everything you do and you have to restart all over again. And that's why I decided to write my password and my username down.
And that gives you an appreciation of technology, right?
Yeah.
Being able that you got to make lots of mistakes and do it over again,
Yeah.
right? Awesome, girl. Who would like to talk to them now about that second question? Code gives you an appreciation of technology. Come on, Louis. You don't have to. Would you like to go camera? Awesome. Now, we do respect people's digital citizenship right here. So one of the things that we talked earlier in the year is that you don't always have to show up on camera, because one of the things that you don't always want to do is have a big digital footprint down there. And some of the kids in my classroom have taken a choice not to leave a digital footprint and not be part of the video. So I'm just going to turn the video out, and then you're going to hear her talk about her experience. So the thing is, code gives you an appreciation of technology. This is what my student has to say about that.
Code gives me a new appreciation for technology, because now I know from scratch that that technology is actually made by people, and yeah.
Now, it allows you to be more creative. It really teaches you that you can improve with the magic. It teaches you to develop a growth mindset. But more important than anything, people really think you're smart when you code, when actually you really don't. But at the same time, though, remember that when you code, you're doing computer science. It is rocket science. If you're wondering how the people in Mars got the robot there, it wasn't remote control. It wasn't through the phone. It was strictly to code. And so remember that as you're watching any spaceship that goes to the end of the planet, it had to be a coder who got it there. Now, as we finish, because we only got about 5 minutes left, and I still want to talk to you a bit more about the story part. Some of the things as you teachers, if you're not sure what to do, please borrow the presentation and feel free to access any of these apps. To the left-hand side are some of the coding apps for phones. To the right-hand side are some apps for primary students. In this one over here, to the left-hand side, those once again are apps that you would know. Now, if you have a Lego robotics, which almost every school in Ontario has, that is one of your first opportunities to learn how to code. Grab the Lego robotic and learn how to code that, because once you learn how to code a Lego robotic, it is easier actually to code Scratch. And I think you can ask it to the grade 6s over there. That Scratch is even easier than a Lego robotic. You know how to do that, Lego robotic, you know how to do any other kind of code. And for any teacher that's not really sure where to start, you've never done computer science, you've heard all this coding thing, to the bottom right-hand corner is where you want to start with. Give your kids 2 hours of opportunity to start with the code.org. In it itself, there will be activities where they get to write stories, they can work with mathematics, or they can work with things like Minecraft or Adventure Time, in which they can learn how to code and give you an experience with coding. So if you're not really sure where to start, please go to code.org this week, sometime this week or next week. That is your beginning point. In the next part of it, now my kids will tell you about their experiences with storytelling in Scratch. And so that work that we did this year was similar to the one last year. 2 exceptions though. The first one is we work with somebody within a school community, a grade 3 class. The second one is that we started learning about what was called the user. If we're going to create coding, if we're going to create stories, we have to ask the user what they want. And so we went to go ask the grade 3s what it is that they wanted in their stories. We learned that grade 3s are very picky. Some kids don't like white cars, they like red cars. So they told us that they wanted red cars, and so we had to change the story to the red car. We showed them our backgrounds. They were not very happy at times. And so we had to then as well change the background. And so we kept on talking about that idea. So what does ideate, changed it, try again, talk to them, try again, because that's what coding and computer programming is. It's never getting it right the first time as a teacher or as a student. So it'll become very important as you move forward that mistakes, persistence, and a great mindset are some of the most important things when it comes to code. Now, as we finish the last of this presentation, I want to let my kids talk to you about their experiences this year with coding. This is some of their work before we get them to talk. Once again, it's all about working together. Everyone has this impression that coding is a guy behind a computer writing, and a lot of it is that. But when I go to Google, because I hang out at Google sometimes, it is not this. There's a lot of it. But a lot of it is talking to one another. What did you do right? What did you do wrong? They sit at cafeterias and they come up with ideas. This is how I learned that this is how they come up with Gmail. Gmail wasn't come up with a business. They were sitting down at lunch, the coders, and they're like, this is a great idea that we should do. So they started coding it. And so then remember that if you're not really sure what's going to bring you at the very least when you code teachers, it'll bring your kids working together. It'll have experts from this level, and that level, and it'll force them to work together. It's the only way to debug programs. Here's them working again. Oh, sorry. There we go. So now the kids are going to talk to you about their work. And so they have a couple of questions that they had to answer, and they'll come to you and talk to you about it. Who would like to talk about one of the questions that they would like? All right, Melody, come on up. Make sure that you say the question and your answer for it.
Um,
You say hi.
What do I like about coding? What do I like about coding? I like how you can be yourself and be creative and different. You can make games, stories, and other fun and exciting things. You can work on making little short films, and you can create movies. You can explore and move around the characters and try new things. Bye.
Hi. What do I not like about coding? Oh, what do I like about coding? I love to explore and learn new things about coding. Example, watch a video on how to do the things you need to do on Scratch. It was awesome to explore and learn with coding, also known as Scratch.
What do I like about coding? I like that you get to learn new things and be creative. How does coding help you become a better student? It gives you grit. It helps you with math, like positive and negative numbers.
Hello, my name is Tyler. What do I like about coding? Coding is fun and helps you with your subjects. It challenges you to your limit and keeps you on track.
We also asked, how does it help you become a better student? Because part of a school, you always have to ask yourself, what am I doing and how is this helping me? So we did have to ask the question a couple of times. How does coding help me learn? So they're going to tell you some of their answers now. How does coding help you learn?
How does coding help you become a better student? Coding helps you become a better student because you need to set limits and goals, and you learn new stuff about coding, and you also struggle.
Which one do you want to do?
Like how it keeps me calm.
Oh, so how does coding keep you calm? Tell us.
Hello. Sometimes when I'm outside, I can get heated up. So I would like to have a computer for some time. So when I get heated up, I can go on it and I can code. I can code about what I did outside or something, or I can just do something like that.
Now, another question that we asked is, how does coding make you make stories? Who would like to answer that question for it? Come on, Leona.
Hello. Did I like to talk about how to help us make Scratch helps us to make stories? So we can create a scene like a person walking, they're like a person walking to a garden and stuff. So we can make the backdrop as a garden and make a person walk, go here and stuff. So that's how we make a story.
Maybe we'll send 2 more, right, Joyce? Because we're running out of time, right?
Sure. Sure. I think we can go over a little bit. We are already over a bit. So the nice thing is if any classrooms are watching and you need to leave, if it's recess or another obligation that you have, please know you can just slip out. You won't interrupt us. And the recording will be available tomorrow. So if you want to tune in to catch the last bit, you can certainly do so. So we can keep going if you have more sharing to do.
I think they really want to share. All right, how does coding help you make stories? Well, then before we start, we'd like to introduce you to our principal, Mr. Noonan. Hi, Mr. Noonan. He came to check us out to see what we were doing. I figured I'd introduce him. All right, how does Scratch help you with his writing stories?
Hello. So how Scratch helps me write stories, is because I don't write stories a lot. I mostly use my imagination. So when I go on Scratch, when I do a short film, I use my imagination, and then I could just put it into a story, and that helps me a lot. So.
Would you like to share next?
So when I first started coding, I didn't really get a lot of stuff, and I didn't really know what to do. So when I started doing the grade 3s, I started understanding more as I went on, and I kept trying. I understood more of what I was supposed to do, and one of the stories I was doing, the person didn't like what I did, so I had to change it all, but now I'm very proud of myself because he likes it and it turned out the way I wanted it to.
So I do want to pause. More sharing is great, but we do have some questions as well. So we have an opportunity for some of your students to answer some of the questions in the classes.
Oh, they really want to answer questions.
Okay. So what I'd like to do is have you click the stop share button that's near the top of your screen, the red one there, and
oh, it's
sorry, the stop share button. There you go. All right, I heard some helpful pointing out from the students.
There's a lot of that here. When you work with technology in this classroom, there's a lot of students helping you out do things.
Wonderful. Well, our first question is from Mr. Chidiak's class. They want to know what has been the toughest part about learning to code.
Who has not had a chance to talk? Okay, who wants to talk then? Come on, Chris. Chris Hickson, you want to crack at it too? Okay.
So the toughest part about learning to code.
Hello again.
Hi.
For me, the toughest part about coding is when you like put something on, you think it's gonna work, you think you're finally done, and then when you tell the user, you show the user, and he's like, "Nah, that's not what I want." Delete everything, and then you're like, "What? But I spent so much time doing this." Yeah.
And I feel like that doesn't change probably, even when you get out of the classroom and you're coding as a designer in your 20s, 30s, 40s for clients. The client is always right.
I would imagine that on Google, that's what's happening right now. Somebody's telling the coder or the Googler that they have to change something.
Yep.
Who has to change? What was the difficult part about coding? Come on, Cameron.
The difficult part about coding was when I tried to save an image and then load it onto my screen, sometimes it would not load onto the screen. So then I had to go back and do it again. Hello? A very difficult thing about coding is, say, I said earlier that me and my friend had a lot of bugs on one game, and we ended up having to delete it. And that is something that could be very frustrating, and that can really end up in a roadblock. But coding can also end up in a great burst of joy, but it can also get quite frustrating, as I just said. Head rush, 1 sec. Head rush. Okay, so, like, oh God, lost my train of thought.
You can come back to the time, it's fine.
Yep.
Neely, do the track.
The one hardest thing about me coding is that I have a user that's okay with everything. So I would go pull something up and I would say, "Do you want this?" And she would say yes. And then I would pull something other up and she would say, "I want that." And yeah, she was very like, she just wanted, like, she didn't really care about it.
That would be frustrating. We've talked about the client or the collaborator who has very specific things that they want to be changed, but if you're not getting feedback, that's pretty tough on the other side. Thanks for sharing.
Welcome.
Should we get to another question?
I think so. I think let's go to another question here. We have quite a few classes, Ms. Doyle's class, and also Mrs. Paulson's class. They're wondering, how long does it take to create one of these projects or stories in Scratch?
To the teacher or to the students? To the teacher, you're talking about maybe 4 half-an-hour lessons. For the students, they'll be more accurate and tell you how long it actually takes to make one.
Okay.
Here, Connor? The question is, how long does it take you to make one of these stories?
Hello. And usually it takes about most of the time which we have, because most of them are trying to like mostly everyone is trying to get their picture in, or like make it so it plays a sound or recording a sound. So it probably takes like the whole time to have it. Some people finish, but not that many people have finished.
Be prepared.
Go ahead.
Be prepared to give up some of your breaks. These kids do go for hours at a time if you let them.
I imagine you would always be able to see something that you'd like to improve. It could go on forever, or at some point, I guess you might decide that you're satisfied with the project.
And one more for that answer, Brennan.
Hi. How long it takes for doing the projects is for me. I like when I put down the block, I have to click that, so it'll take a long time for me to like actually get like a bit of script done, and so it'll take about like a period to do like 5 or 6 like blocks of code, and then like I'll have to do it the next day and again and again.
Thank you.
Should we do another question, or we got one more?
Let's go to another question here. Mrs. McVickers, grade 6-7s, have a question for Mr. Roque. They're wondering, how does coding affect the kids in your class? Maybe from your point of view, and then maybe you have a student who'd like to answer too.
From my point of view is that it provides a grid. It gives you the opportunity to create something. But often that when the kids are starting to code, they find themselves going further than that. So let me show you the one thing that we're doing this year with the grade 6s. So that coding has led us to robotics. We have this kit that we have bought this year where we're actually going to code all those pieces that you see. So we have sensors, light sensors, heat sensors. We have actually a joystick, which we were all very excited to see when we got the kit, because all of us wanted to code the joystick. Is that right, gentlemen, back there? And I want to show you that this is one of the things that we want to do this year. We want to be able to create something that uses this joystick. And so then coding doesn't quite stop. It's no different than science or math or playing soccer. When you have soccer, you love playing soccer, but only a couple of them go and pursue it further. Well, coding is the same idea too, that all of us can learn coding, but some of us take it even further than that. And so the process will eventually lead you to code hardware, to code software, to code the things that people get paid for. Can I ask the question again so I can ask one of my students?
So how does coding affect the students in your class? So how do they feel it affected them?
Sorry, and to add to that, I mean, other than the frustration when you don't get something, there's nothing better to see them succeed at getting it right. And that humongous smile of like, I put a sound on the video, or I finally got the video going, or I finally moved it to the left. And so all that excitement that comes, and they go, so yeah, there's a lot of struggle, but you have to overcome this. You have to have a good mindset to become. And so then, yeah, it makes them feel good, different than you go, 1 + 1 is 2. I know that, right? It's really exciting. And so we also get very excited when we do something that's new. I always get excited when they bring a game that I actually like, because I like games, and so I'm very picky with the game. Who would like to share that thought? You want to share that? Oh, Melody, you haven't been in a while. Go ahead, girl.
What was the question again?
Sorry, they would like to hear the question one more time.
Oh, so how does coding affect you?
If you're not sure effect is, how has it changed you or changed the way that you think?
In coding, when sometimes I have my friend come over, one of the grade 6s that have been up here, that are in here, and he shows me some of his coding stuff, and I think that it's really cool the way he did and stuff. So then I
on my old account from home, I try to do some of the stuff that he does, and it's a lot of fun because we get to do kind of stuff, and because in the negative and positives, normally you learn that in grade like 7, 8, or 9, but we're learning it kind of now because of you need to use negative sometimes to make it walk.
Thank you. Now we are running out of time now, unfortunately. There's so much more sharing. I can tell you have lots of wisdom in this classroom to share. But maybe we could go to highlighting. We've heard that there's some frustration in bugs, and then some satisfaction when you can debug something, some collaboration in that whole process. And I heard the word joy, which, and lots of evidence of that even when the word wasn't used, that joy, excitement about when you get it to work, and that satisfaction that you see your work come together. Is there anything you'd like to leave our audience with today as maybe advice if they wanted to get going on something similar?
Just take a step. With any kind of new technology and anything that we use in the classroom or in the schools or in the boards, it's just a matter of taking a step. Do not be afraid. You have to start somewhere. And so then if you're not really sure where to start with code.org. Feel free to take there's other resources at the bottom, including how to attach on the United States curriculum, the Common Core, with the Canadian core, with our Ontario curriculum, which is very handy because one of the things that we're still in charge is expectations. Irrelevant to what I'm doing here, the most important thing is that I'm covering the expectations of grade 5. And so then in there, I have to be able, any activity that I do, I have to be able to find that expectation. And so then use some of those resources that I left on the PowerPoint. They'll become very helpful if you're not sure where to start. Another place to start as a teacher is go to EduGains. They actually have some really great starting activities on EduGains that can help you get started, as well as some rubrics and some other resources and people that you can talk to if you need to. Just try though. It really is a pretty thing watching them create something. It really is a pretty thing when they actually feel successful about it. And there's nothing better when all of a sudden the old kids come and teach the new kids. Because next year when I teach grade 5 again, guess who's going to be my experts? The grade 5s in this class, right? And so this project will continue moving forward as we also move forward as well in education. That's it.
And as a teacher, do you find it easy to use coding once the students have had an introduction? Can you use this to cover those expectations, those pieces of knowledge that your students need in other subject areas?
Absolutely. You can cover our expectations. Mathematics is the easiest one to do, right? And then, but with the storytelling one, to be able to give feedback, to provide feedback, what is good feedback to grade 3s? What it means that when we're doing design challenges, what does the user look like? And so we're starting to ask one of the tougher questions when we're talking about education. It's like, what do we want the people in front of us to do or want? So I think just take a step forward and give your best.
And I've also heard another teacher who said this was a good way for students to demonstrate their knowledge sometimes. So if a student might not want to give a live presentation, maybe they would like to code it in Scratch, and that could be any subject out there. So. Well, I do need to wrap it up for today. We're so grateful to everyone in the room who could share, whether you spoke online or you were part of the discussions for how to do this. You are all so important in making this happen. So thank you so, so much to Mr. Roque's current grade 5 students, his previous grade 5 students, and everybody else who helped to make this happen. Thank you to everyone who joined us live today, or if you're watching this video after the fact. And happy Computer Science Education Week, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
Bye.